Hello, and welcome to yet again another edition of Conscious Mind Tripping with me, your host, Audrey Newmont. I have a lot going on here, a lot to talk about today, and I'm just going to warn you ahead of time. It might be some things that might be a little triggering. Some might say a little controversial. I don't personally think it's controversial, but people might think it is. So just FYI ahead of time, listen with a very open mind and understand that we're all in this together. So if I'm bringing up things that are triggers, it might be something that we need to take a look at. Just saying. So I want to start out the evening by talking about, well, I have notes. Last night's show that Nick had on mainstream metaphysics, he had Lisa Allen on, and can I just say, it was a really good show. I'm bringing up my Facebook over here because if you're watching live, if you go to Audrey Newmont on Facebook, I can see your comments better because over here it's, maybe I can bring up the chat, show chat. So they were on mainstream metaphysics and they were talking about the astrological aspects that are going on right now. And there's a lot going on in case nobody's noticed. I mean, there's a lot going on. So one of the things that I find very interesting is that we're in a moment where there is a lot that's coming to the surface that's been underneath the surface. It's like things are coming to be revealed that have been hidden, and aspects of changes that are happening in like administrations and things like that. You'd have to watch the video. I'm not really good at the replay for astrological things, but it was very interesting. So if you're feeling like you're a little funky out of sorts, things are happening and you want to know more of why it's happening, that's the show that you want to watch. So they were on mainstream metaphysics. So you can go to either the YouTube channel for mainstream metaphysics, or you can go to Nick Newmont on Facebook, or Lisa Allen. She is timingmagic.com. I'm sure she's posting it everywhere too. So you can go there and check it out. So for those of you that join live, this is an interactive conversation, so you're more than welcome to ask questions, make comments. I have had people say, I would debate you on that. And I always think it's great to debate these things and to be able to listen with an open mind and hear each other on our various points that we have on what our perceptions are in the world, because we're in such a moment right now. I think it's important to be thinking expansively. And if we're just driving this one avenue, this one lane, there could be these other lanes where maybe there's more to see. So I think it's important to look at that and, think outside of our individual little boxes that we get ourselves into. So the other thing that I want to talk about while I'm on my announcement part of the evening, I just had an anniversary with Nick. It was our 25th anniversary. Quite the big deal. And one thing that we did on our anniversary, we still have to finish it. We had this fire pit that was outside of our room, and we sat out there and we did our timeline of when we met and certain things that happened along the way. And there was so much that happened. We didn't get that far in the timeline, but it was really fun to talk about that. And we taped it. So at one point we'll give it to our girls. And it's really interesting to remember. We were remembering our honeymoon in Italy and different things that I forgot and he remembered, or vice versa. So it was really neat to reminisce and also be in the moment and do the things that we did. So one thing that we did there is we went and got a whole bunch of new crystals. One of our suppliers is out there, and oh my goodness, we have some amazing pieces that hi Lisa, that we found. So Lisa, I was just talking about you and Nick on your show last night. You guys were fantastic. and the information was just spot on, really good, and quite important, I think, for all of us to know right now. So thank you again for that show. So when we were up in Cambria, and we also went to antique stores. We both like finding unique containers to make the candles that we make. So that was a lot of fun as well. And the 25th anniversary is the silver anniversary. So look what I got. This fabulous piece of silver. Isn't that amazing? If you're not divesting, is that the word I want to use? If you're not taking your money and putting it in various places yet, it's a good idea to. So silver is one of those things, and he got it for a good reason. Silver is one of these things where you can move money out of, say, like a 401k or something, and buy tangible silver. Silver is one of those things, it's gonna not lose its value. We bought some before as well, and it's already, like, I think tripled in value. So it's really a good idea at this moment to look into diversifying your income, your savings and things, not to put a whole bunch of it in something that is maybe risky, but taking little bits here and there and putting them into different avenues. And silver is a very, very good avenue. So you might want to think about that, as long as I'm talking about our silver and our silver anniversary. We had a really good time on that trip. It's really nice because he and I are just so busy and doing all the things that we do to just be able to have some time and just unwind along with everything else that we did. Went to some vineyards, and I think you might have seen the pictures on our Facebook or whatever. We had a good time. Next topic of conversation. And by the way, with the silver, with the crystals, if you can see my glass here, in there's a piece of shungite. And then in the bottom down here is rose quartz. So energy is energy, and we're all energy. So when you're putting something like shungite in your water, it helps in certain aspects with your body. You can look it up. And rose quartz is just a very loving energy. So it's just a fun way to re-energize your water. And shungite is also a really good one that helps block EMFs. So I have it here at my desk, and sometimes I wear it. I've got a necklace with it on there. So it is, it's a good one to have around. And the next thing I want to talk about, as announcements go, I just put out an email, and in that email, I took my book and I put it onto YouTube. It's on a playlist on YouTube. So the reason why I did that, I have a lot of people that are my clients who they just simply don't have the time or don't have the desire or whatever that thing is. A lot of people at the moment just don't read a book, but they'll listen to anything and they'll watch videos. So I put my book on the YouTube playlist, and it's on my Conscious Mind Tripping podcast. So you can go on there, and each video is 30 minutes-ish or less. And so it's all the game format, it's the tools, it's everything in a very user-friendly format. So if you look at it, it's me talking like this right here now, and then on the other side is the pages of the book that I'm reading. So I read the book for you, and then I'm also adding a little bit here and there along the way. And what I'm going to be doing, what the intention was when I wrote that book, was that I would make it small, very user-friendly. So all the tools are just like a few pages. And then the intention is each one of those tools will now be having its own larger video where it's just talking about the tool. So that'll be on YouTube as well. And that is in the process. So you're going to get a little bit of a dose of part of that tonight, because I have something special planned for you, and I don't know what my stomach is doing at the moment. You better calm down. Just saying. So you're welcome to go and check that out. Or if you want to buy the book, you can go to my website, audreynewmont.com. And there's a whole page on there with all the information with the mind trip game. Now I'm going to get into the stuff. But before I get into it, I'm going to add a picture in that I want to talk about. And I'm getting very clever with these things. And I can see and make sure that I'm taking a minute to look here at my Facebook and make sure, yes, it came out just the way that I want it, which it hasn't before. That's why I'm looking at it like that. So this is one of the parts to the book, and I wanted to explain it to you in a little bit more detail and then go into the topic of tonight. So when we're looking at our life, all of us have a controller of us. And I'll give you an example of this. I use analogies when I'm working with clients. And I had this client come in one time. It was a kid, and he was having an issue. He was struggling. He was getting bullied in school, and he was also, unfortunately, making bad grades. So when he came in, I asked him, it's like, what do you want? And he goes, well, I want to stop getting bullied, and I want to make better grades. And I want to be in this like great position in life so that I can look back at those bullies and see, look what I did, you know? And so I asked this kid, I said, so are you a gamer? He was like, well, yeah. And I was like, well, what do you play? And this was a while ago. And he tells me that he played a game called Rainbow. And I was like, Rainbow, is that with like unicorns and stuff? And he's like, no. It's one of those games where you have to go in and you're killing people. You have to remember how you died if you died, and you have to go and do all of this stuff. And so I was like, all right, so would you ever take your controller, the thing in your hand that makes everything happen, and would you just set it down next to you and let the guy go willy-nilly in the game? And he looked at me like I was crazy. He was like, no, I've got to know all of these things and I have to use that. And I told him, I said, well, you've got a controller of your life. And when you understand what that is and you understand how to use it, then you're going to make your life better. And so I showed him what that controller was. And it's for all of us. We all have our controller. It's like if you're using the remote control for your TV. You got to have this thing that makes everything happen. And then there's buttons on the top of it that make it happen as well. And as long as I'm showing you, this would be that thing. You have the controller itself, and then you've got your intention button, your attention button, and your perception button. These are the three things on top of the controller. This is everything that makes your life work. So when you're looking at your controller, it's important to understand how it works. It's your mind. So this is everybody's mind. This is how we roll. This is what we do. So when you're looking at your mind, you've got a part of your mind at the very bottom of it. You can see it there. It's the primitive area of your mind, and that's where you have that fight-flight response. Sometimes freeze, occasionally fawn. It's all F things, but it's that part of your mind where you're not really thinking, you're just in an autopilot. Like if you were being attacked, you wouldn't think about it. You would fight the person or the thing. You would run, flight, you would freeze, and that would be what would happen. And so it's that part of your brain, your mind, that is just on automatic. Then you've got the next area of your controller, your mind, where you can see it's a larger section. It's about, for most people, kind of honestly, I was being very gracious with the number here, but it's usually about 95% for most people of what we do, think, be all day, every day. Our beliefs are in there. And it's the controller. It's the program that we're running. So when you're looking at that part of your mind, most of it, a lot of the foundation of it was put in there between the ages of 0 and 8 years old. We all came into the world, these perfect, beautiful beings, and then we start being in the back seat of our parents' car or whoever's car. We got siblings in the back seat with us, and we start learning how to drive, learning how to be. And I use myself as an example on this, where my mother, God bless her, she was in the front seat and she's like, hey, she's cute, but she's not that smart, the dumb one. And so I didn't understand the difference. I didn't know any better. I was like, all right, sometimes I'm cute, but I'm not that smart. And I took on a program of not valuable, not worthy. These things that we take on, it's just a program, but we feel like it's who we are. We feel like it's what we are, and it's how we operate. So a big part of learning your controller is being able to see what are the different programs we're running. If you're looking at your phone, it's kind of like your phone has all these apps that make things happen. These are apps in the mind. So when you can understand what they are and understand how we take them on, and sometimes understand even in the moment how things are affecting us, then you're able to use the controller in a way that is intentional for you. So that's just a brief description of the subconscious mind. But the really important part of the mind that I wanted to talk about today is the critical mind. That's where you get into critical thinking. That's that part of your mind you start taking on between the ages of 8 and 9 years old. And that is, in my opinion, one of the most important parts of the mind. And so when we're having these issues, when we have, these feelings that go on, which are the rulers, your feelings are the things that will show you that you've got an unconscious program running. See, that part where you're in your subconscious mind, a lot of times it's that we're unaware that we're unaware. So we've got these things rolling and we don't really understand that the program is rolling. We want to just dismiss it and go up to the conscious mind where we're in our logic, our reasoning, our deduction. So I'm just seeing comments over here. My husband's in here. Hi, Nick. So good. Now I can see comments over here because I was looking, thinking, where is everybody? All right. Anyway, so that part of your mind, that critical thinking part of your mind, when these feelings come up, anxiety is a big one for a lot of people right now. Another big one is anger. That's a huge one at the moment. So when you are doing the critical thinking, instead of just rolling around in the anger, rolling around in the anxiety, you're stopping the car and you're questioning. That critical area of your mind is where we're asking questions, where instead of just rolling in what we're angry about, rolling about anxiety about something that might happen. Anxiety's big question is this true? You can stop it immediately with that question, because anxiety is almost always imagining something that might happen in the future. What if? Oh my gosh, it could look like that. So when you are using the critical thinking part of your mind, you're stopping yourself, you're stopping the car. Is this true? Do I know this? And in a few minutes, we're going to get into something important that we can use it for in this moment right now, because I had an experience the other day that I want to share with you. And the critical area of the mind for all of us is important in these kind of situations. So when you are using your critical thinking, you're looking at whatever's going on and you're saying, is this true? Or why, where, when, what, how? You're using that part of your mind to, instead of just be subject to whatever the thing is, you're allowing the adult in the front seat, that conscious part of us, where we're looking at it with logic, we're looking at reason, deduction. Willpower is a great one. As an example, willpower is a big one for a lot of people. So when you are, let's just say, looking to change habits, like Nick and I are in a moment right now where he's about to be 70. and I'm 62, and we're realizing that there's certain things that we need to adjust in the way that we're having our lifestyle. And so there's a part of it where the willpower usually is 90%. And there's that 10% of your conscious intention. And a lot of times, as an example, I used to have a huge addiction to sugar, like a big addiction. And it was a big program that was running 90% of what sugar did for me. Sugar was comfort. Sugar was all these things. And then I had to stop and I had to look at, what is my program around sugar? Where did it start? Well, it started as a kid. You know, every night at dinner, I would get dessert unless I was a bad girl. You know, not a great program. And then it went from there to the next thing, to the next thing, to the next thing. And it turned into a lot of issues around eating over a lot of years. So when you're using that critical thinking and you're looking at your timeline and you're understanding, where did I get this program? What literally is the program? And you're able to discern the difference between what happened as a kid and where you're at now as an adult, and those conscious choices that you're making, like Nick and I at the moment. We've already made these adjustments, and it takes 21 days to really lock and load new habits, new beliefs, new way of being. And we're both looking at this. It's like, it's a lifestyle change. It's for the next however many years we're going to be on this planet. And so both of us at this point are very healthy. We're not on any meds. We're, doing everything that we need to do. So what we're choosing intentionally in that conscious choice is to recognize those limiting beliefs, those habits, or whatever those are, and shift them out. So we're doing it intentionally, and we're doing it on purpose. So why I bring all of this up tonight, this goes into the next part of it now that you see the controller quite clearly. It goes to this part of the controller where your intention, attention, and perception are the three buttons. So for a lot of us, our intention is to live in peace, to live in harmony. One of my intentions is to really support this belief that divine right action is taking place for all of humanity. So when you see a moment that's happening like right now, where it looks like humanity is challenged, there's a part where my intention is these things are sorting themselves out, and we are creating a better environment, a better planet for all people. So then comes the attention. When shit's hitting the fan and there's a lot of stuff going on, I have to keep being aware of where my attention is. And I have to keep being aware of where I'm creating from. So when I say where I'm creating from, and this is super important, when we're in what I call fear feelings, our attention, like when we're angry, our attention is creative. We're feeling with our heart, and that communicates to the brain, and it's literally telling the brain is telling the body, we have to produce more adrenaline. We have to produce more cortisol. The energy literally leaves the center of the body and it goes to the extremities. And we go in our controller way down into that fight flight. So we're not thinking that clearly. Sometimes not thinking clearly at all. So why this is important is because when our attention is on the problem, when our attention is on this is happening and it's not good and it's a struggle and it's all these things, then there we are. So when we're having a moment like right now, and there's all of this stuff that's happening, it's really important to be aware of where the attention is and where the perception is. Perception is the third one, and all of these buttons are unique, and each one, in my opinion, equally as important. So this comes to the experience that I had the other day. And it was my experience. And I just want to say, before I say all of this, this might be that thing that's a bit of a trigger. There have been all of these people in support of the immigrants that have come to this country. And I think it's amazing. And I think it's wonderful to be in support. And I think it's important to focus our attention on finding solutions to all of this, because it's a very big deal right now. And I just want to be very clear. One of my dearest people on the planet, a family member, she's not really my family, but we consider her family. She was illegal for a while and she got her citizenship. I love her. And I feel deeply for people who are struggling with this going on right now. And it's important that we discern all of it and really come to the truth of everything that's happening right now. And why I say that is because I was at lunch with Nick 4 days ago, and he was looking at something, doing something. So I opened up my phone and I went into Facebook, and somebody posted, I like to keep all of this anonymous, but somebody posted that the place that we were at, where we were having lunch, Agora Deli, which we love Agora Deli, it said that it's like this wonderful community, and they felt really bad because they went there to eat and it was closed. And I'm looking at this, I'm reading this, and it's like, well, no, because I'm right here and I'm eating and everything seemed totally fine to me. And I even asked the server, I said, look at this, has this happened? She was like, no, not at all. The reason why I bring this up is because when we're reading something like that, I looked at the comments, and these people are like, oh, these people are so horrible and it's affecting all of our businesses and all of this. Now, to be clear, it did affect, I believe, the car wash. And I understand that, and it's awful. And I'm not saying that it's good in any way, shape, or form. It is what it is, and it's not going to last forever. But when we're reading all of this information and we're looking at all these stories and something like that, these people in the comments were angry and they're upset. And as far as I could gather, it wasn't true because I'm sitting in the place at that moment. So it's really important. And this is what I do. I look at a lot of different avenues of news. I watch the mainstream news. I watch other people who are on like Rumble. I watch people on YouTube. I talk to people. I have all of this that I just file into my bank here, my controller. And I don't own a lot of it. I look at it. And as I'm looking at it, I don't know if it's true until I know it's true. And then I'll do what I'm going to do about it, whatever that would be. But there is a lot of things out there that are simply not true. Somebody said, this is from a good source. And even when we're watching the news, it's really important to put in our controller that the news used to not be able to lie. You can look this up. There is, and I've said this before and I'll say it again, there was a law that was put into effect called the Smith-Mundt Act. And that was basically the media can't lie, because there was such a deal with media propaganda in that time in Germany. So there was this thing put into effect, the media can't lie, and then it got changed. You can look this up, Smith-Mundt Act. So when we're watching the news, I used to be a big fan of certain news, and I would just be like, wow, that's happening. And I would get riled up about it, and I would get upset. And I would even be like, well, and then this particular news that I was watching, I'm not going to go into exactly who it was, but it was like, I would be like, wow, I love this news because they're telling the facts. Well, they weren't. They were telling that part of the news that they wanted you to know. And if you look at where a lot of the news comes from, there's certain organizations that own most of it. So it's important to look at all of this and not be judging it, but looking at, is this true? And sometimes it is, and sometimes it's not. So we're looking at where we can be in that critical part of your mind where you're looking at it with logic, deduction, reasoning, and you're making your own intentional choices on it. And the reason why I bring this up right now is because we're in such a moment where not only are things happening with regard to the new administration, things happening in the world with other countries. I don't need to go into the details. I'm sure a lot of you know those details. But there's never just this one big story of this is all that there is. There's always these other channels, and I've seen this for 6 years now. And again, I don't tap into any of those channels and say, this is absolute or that's absolute until I see the absolute evidence of what that is. And even when I do, and I see what the truth is, what I'm about to go into next is the most important part of this conversation. So when you're looking at everything that has happened, that has been happening, sometimes it makes us feel powerless because we're in that subconscious mind and we're in our fear and we're looking at, oh shit, what if that happens? What if? It's not happened, but what if? So this next part that I go into, it's so important to really lock and load, because as we're all going through this moment together, when we come together as a community that has their attention, their intention on the solutions and are seeing clearly, then we have an opportunity to be wildly creative as a population. So going into this next avenue, I'm going to play a video here. And it's this guy that I just heard recently, and I was just ridiculously impressed with this man. His name is Zach Bush, and he's a scientist. And he is not dabbling, but very much in the spiritual realm as well. So I had never heard somebody put together the words in such a way that it's like really understanding how powerful we are, the genius of who we are. And I heard this guy and I was like, what in the world? I love how we put it together. And I highly recommend watching the whole video. It's on Next Level Soul Podcast with Alex Ferrari, who, by the way, you can download the app for that. He has the best people on that show. And he's got a whole app where you can go to all these different avenues to watch various things. And he's just fascinating himself. So he had this guy, Zach Bush, on, and I'm watching this and I was like, I just have to share it. So I'm going to share this little 3-minute video with you. And then we're going to talk again. So here you go.
Genius that is exhibited in the formation of a human inside the womb of a woman has never been measured. We've figured out the structure of atoms. We've figured out, the extent of the universe. We've dissected, nearly every physical feature of the world to sort through how things work. Not a single scientist has even been able to put together a theory on how this happens, because it's frankly just beyond any human comprehension how a single cell can begin a self-differentiation process where it splits into 70 trillion cells, and then somehow each of those 70 trillion cells knows where to go in a three-dimensional map to then differentiate into a very specific cell with a completely radically different shape, function, genomic expression. Kidney cell can be, 1/1,000,000th of an inch within the border of a fibrous tissue cell, and yet they know exactly who they are. They know exactly why they are right where they are. And so the intricate scale of the tininess of the mechanisms of a human body and how everything knows how to become that, nobody has a clue. No, it's definitely not in the cell. That information doesn't exist inside the human DNA, for example. There's no information there.
No blueprint inside.
There's no blueprint. And so you are self-organizing the womb of your mother into something that we might call human. And then it's compounded by the reality of, your connection in nature actually shaping the body every millionth of a second. So every millionth of a second, the atomic structure of a human body dissolves and reappears, as does this table. And so anything solid is anything but solid. It's actually a momentary physical expression of light. And so when you start to realize, okay, somehow we are these energetic centers, these extremely intense concentrations of light energy to become physical matter. And in that extreme light energy, we have the ability to coordinate communication, to adhere to this greater map, this greater design of beauty that is unfolding in nature. All of that is to say that it's beyond the word miracle. To see the face of a child coming into this world and taking its first breath, you are in the physical presence of the genius of the universe in its totality. I don't think the universe has done anything more magnificent than birth life.
Birthing you. You're that genius. You're that baby that came into the world. We all are. So when we understand how incredible we are, how amazing, how we have this quantum computer, we have this heart that talks to 50 trillion intelligent cells, we're continually talking with the first driver, that universal intelligence source, whatever you want to call it. We're all so incredibly, we're like royalty in the universe. So when he puts it in that way, it's like you chose to come here, and that energy that flows through you knew exactly how to put you together. That energy that came through you, that still continues to go through you, knows how to heal, knows how to create, knows how to make insane things happen, like a wide variety of things. When I look at somebody like Nick and he's able to do those things that he does with the energy healing and channeling and the psychic work that he does, that's not the first driver as much, not the adult driver as much as it is he's allowing that information to flow through him. He's allowing that higher part of him to drive. And he is a very powerful driver himself. We all have that ability. We all have the ability to really hone in on our own individual genius. But we can't hone in from that place of fear. We can't create as a collective from that place of fear, false evidence appearing real, those feelings that are the ones that kind of shut us down. I have this picture here. So we're a lot of times on that victimization loop. When you're angry about what somebody else is doing, and we're coming from that place of anger, we're not very creative. And so there's a lot that is put out to us where it's designed to get us angry. So when I was saying earlier that there's all this information that gets put onto various forms of social media, like you see things where it's like somebody's posted and then a lot of people are sharing the same post. Well, somebody said, is that what you're saying? Is that what you know? A lot of times it's not. It's coming from that place where it's a manipulation. And there's definitely, unfortunately, people that want to manipulate the masses. So when you're able to step out of that manipulation, you're stepping out of that loop, then you're able to move into your conscious awareness and your power. So you're creating a new perception and a powerful connection. It's super important that we all are doing that in this moment, because this is one of those moments in time where we can go this way or that way. And if we're coming from a place of being stuck in the problem, we're not going in the solution. And so when we're all looking at this, I love that people get out and take a stand for what's right. And they take a stand for, humanity. So I was thinking about this, and all these people get out and protest, and they're protesting something that's valid. But then I got to thinking of it, and it's like, we're protesting for these people. How come we don't protest for ourselves? Why don't we protest for the important things for each of us individually, like with regard to our own bodies? This guy, when you watch him, he made a really good point. And this is something that I've known for a long time because I've been subject to it in my own body. We, as a collective in these United States, we are ingesting a lot of poison, a lot of toxins. Like just the one thing that he was talking about further along in the video, glyphosate. When they're spraying glyphosate on our crops, these people have to wear hazmat suits to spray this stuff. And why are they spraying it? Because it kills bugs, literally makes them explode. But when we're ingesting it, it's doing things to our stomach, and our stomach affects our thinking. It affects the controller. It also, our stomach, if you're getting something like leaky gut, it can affect the whole system. And what he's talking about in that video is the glyphosate alone, we were shipping it to other countries. And those other countries started noticing that their people were getting sick, because glyphosate isn't something that we should be eating. It's toxic. So our shipments stopped. These countries said, no, we're not going to allow any more of that into our country. We're not going to be poisoning our people. But our people will continue eating it here. So I just had a situation a couple of days ago where I was talking with somebody who unfortunately got very sick recently, and they're in a healing process. And we were talking about things. He was asking questions, and I was, sharing. Nick and I do a whole healthy mind, healthy body course. And I was explaining to them, it's at a moment where when you're in such a healing process, you really want to be using the controller to make these conscious choices to eat organic, because you don't want to be putting glyphosate in your system. You want to do certain things where your body is in a healing mode. So you want to be more calm, because when you're over here in those fear feelings, you're not in a healing mode. Your body's in the fight flight. The energy's not grounded and centered in healing. So we're having this whole conversation. And the thing with the glyphosate, I realized that I don't think he knows what that is. And over the years since I've known about it, a lot of people don't know what it is. But if you're not eating organic Sometimes I guess maybe it even can get into organic food, but you just make the best choices that you can. But I got to thinking of it, and there's so many things that we as a United States, and I mean united, we're people who are and can be united. Why aren't we united for that? Why aren't we united in saying, I don't want any more toxins in my food? Because it's not just the glyphosate, there's other things as well. And the new administration that's coming in is starting to point these things out. And I'm very grateful for that, because I mean, this is something I've been dealing with my own body personally for a while now. So we'll come together to, do what's right for humanity, but we're not doing for ourselves. So this is something to look at, and not to be in fear about, but to look at so that you're able to make your own conscious choices. One of my favorite things is information equals power, and information about yourself is empowerment. So when you are looking at what you can do, like making choices, like Nick and I are taking it to the next level with our health, it's important for all of us to do it, but it's also important to, when we're coming together as a collective, to come together for definitely humanity and for these injustices that are happening, but to look at the injustices that are happening to ourselves and to make us think about that, to really rise up about that and say we're not doing that anymore. And that means to educate ourselves. If you don't know what glyphosate is, look it up. It's important because your body is the most important thing. You're the most important thing. And if you're not healthy, if you're not in your gut health, that affects everything, affects your controller. So it's important to, when you're looking at this, have your attention on the solutions, have your intention on what it is that you want to do about this. That's why I can do this podcast. This is my part. It's not the easiest thing to get on here and say this stuff. Somebody even told me I shouldn't be talking about this because, oh my God, it's controversial. It's information. I'm not talking badly about anybody. I'm not saying that anybody did anything wrong. I'm just saying this is what's going on. This is what I can see from my third button perception. And it's a valid perception. It's actually happening. So when we can get together as a team, as a collective, as a community, and address these things, then we can affect change. And if you continue watching Dr. Zach there, he's talking about a possible extinction if we don't. It's a little scary. I'm not going to buy into the scare, but it is a possibility. So what do we do about it? In the next little bit, we'll go to the last part, the most important part. So when we're talking about who we are, there's that first driver. And that is that part that flows in and as and through us all the time. It's the thing. It's the thing that made all those cells into you. It's always floating through you. It's always a part of you. It's always who you are. If you look at Joe Dispenza's work, You Are the Placebo. He used that information to cure his back, where the doctor said, we don't think you're ever going to walk again. He's like, watch this. I know that the thing that created me is still me. So I'm going to use that thing and I'm going to get up and walk. And now he's created an avenue where he's got hundreds of thousands of people, I'm sure, using that knowledge, that information that equals power to make their lives better. You can look up all the testimonials for Dr. Joe Dispenza, these people that learn how to be in that part of them, that number one driver. So how do we do this as a collective, and how do you do this individually? I was just working with a client earlier, and sometimes our lives feel very hopeless. And sometimes we don't feel very powerful. And if we're coming from just being the adult in the front seat, it's like, I'm struggling. It's hard. It's hard for a lot of people right now. And the kid in the back seat, oh my goodness, the kid in the back seat's like going off the rails. For so many people, it's like, I'm just angry, I'm anxious, I'm worried, I'm stressed, I've got all this guilt and shame and all this stuff. So when we're in that moment and we're really wanting to be the adult and it's exhausting, the first driver is always right there. And you got to remember, the first driver is you. The first driver is that expansive part of you that sees from a great vantage point. That first driver is connected to all that is. That's you. So when you are in prayer, last part of my book, you can watch that little video, being the MVP, having meditation, visioning, and prayer as your tools to really own yourself in this life. The prayer part we're going to do right now. I'm going to show you what this looks like. And I'm going to tell you ahead of time. I don't know what it is with me. When I pray, it's a lot of energy and my little eyeballs water. I'm not crying. It's just what happens. So maybe it won't today, but if it does, it's just what it is. But I want you to really see what this prayer looks like in this moment. And again, when I say the words, it's not about the words. The words are just kind of a direction. The words are a little bit of the intention. It's about the feeling, which is why my eyes water. I am vibing. I mean, my whole body vibrates. And I am tuned in, turned on, and I am that I am. So I'm already starting because I'm recognizing that this energy is everywhere present. This energy is all that there is. So that when, Zach is saying, we're all just these energies just moving and solidifying. We're just energy beings. We don't get taught that, but this is who we are. So when we are recognizing that source, that number one driver, that all that is, that flows through everything, it's who I am. It's every word that I speak, it's every action that I do, and I am that I am. So in this moment, I'm recognizing this beautiful oneness, co-creating with the divine. And I'm allowing that to be all that is for me in this moment of prayer. And then the next part of the prayer, what is it? What are we claiming? What do we see? What's that intention? What is it that we are setting in motion? What's the seed that we're planting? My client was like, I'll know it when I see it. No, you know it now. You're putting that seed into this fertile soil. So the seed is that divine right action is taking place right now for all of humanity. That the best and highest is happening. That the veil is lifting and we are all able to see the truth. The truth, not these other things. This is what is happening. And we're able to recognize it and hold it in the light. We're able to recognize it and bring it to an awareness that we are able to make those adjustments. Make it better for all of humanity. Make it where we are all living in love, where people are all able to eat, where children are able to live lives that are free. Children are able to live lives that are being the innocence of children, where we are recognizing abundance, not for just a few, but for everyone, where we are coming from this place of working through this problem, working through that problem, focusing on the solutions. This is that moment right now where this shift is happening. So as our hearts are opening up, as we're recognizing that higher part of ourselves, and we're recognizing that we do have these solutions, where we have all these people on the planet that are radiating this light and shining out any darkness. This is happening right now. We hold that in the highest, knowing that this word is in alignment with absolute truth. And as we all speak the word, as we're planting these seeds into the soil, it's happening. It is absolutely happening. And it's appreciation for that happening that's like the foot on the gas. So as I hold this appreciation and I see that intention and I know it's set, I have faith and I trust and I appreciate so much that it's already in the works, that it's already done. And we just driving to that destination. We're just driving as it gets lighter and lighter and brighter and brighter. And the solutions are getting bigger and bigger. And we're owning that. We're living that. So being in that appreciation that it's already done, own that. And then we have that faith. It's like I told my client, you don't just plant a seed and then you've got to go and dig it up. Is it growing? We're trusting that I'm watering it, that it's getting that energy of the sun, and that brilliance, that genius of the seed knows exactly what to do. So I have trust. I have faith that it's in the works. And I own that. We own that. So in this moment, we trust that and we let it be. And so it is. So when we're holding that in prayer and we're in that trust and being in the highest, that's where you're owning your power. That's when you're affecting change. And this phone of mine is about to die out. So I'm going to say goodnight early by 2 minutes tonight. I love you all so much. And I will be back here again next week with a guest, mystery guest. I look forward to seeing you. And I love you very much. Good night for now.